Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the Iowa Referee Committee, the Vaughn family, welcome to the 2021 Terry Vaughn Referee Academy, produced by Never Ends Production. My name is Asad Amanovich, and my co-host Sean Geisa is on here as well. 2019 brought a lot of challenges for everyone. We hope that everyone has been safe and well. We are disappointed not to be able to hold the academy in 2019. But we are excited to be and grateful to be able to host one this year. Although it is in a different setting, we're happy to have everyone again here this year. A little bit of a background for everyone. The Terry Vaughn Referee Academy was started in 2002 by Iowa's very first FIFA referee, Terry Vaughn. Terry had this vision to continue providing elite level education for all referees at a free cost, so they didn't have to go to events or different venues that they were not able to afford, and be able to continue getting the education that they need. Without any further ado, I want to help introduce our very first panel of speakers. They don't need introduction themselves. Their achievements both on and off the field speak for themselves. It's an absolute honor and privilege to introduce both Chris and Tori Penso. Chris refereed his first MLS game in 2011, was on the FIFA panel as a referee from 2013 to 2015, and currently is on the VAR FIFA panel. Chris has refereed in the MLS Cup playoffs, Open Cup final, MLS All-Star match, and to date, Chris has refereed an impressive 171 matches in the MLS. Tori made her MLS debut in 2020, making it the first female referee in over 20 years, which is an achievement of its own. Tori has refereed a total of 3 MLS matches so far, and her performance and dedication has seen her brought to the FIFA panel in 2021. Tori continues to be an inspiration to all referees, especially young female referees across the globe. Without further ado, please help me welcome Chris and Tori Penso. Guys, it's all yours.
Thank you, Asad. What a beautiful, warm welcome. I feel like I've got pressure on me. Chris is 170 something games to my 3. I've got some work to do, huh? No, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. And thanks so much for having us. Terry Vaughn has been near and dear to our hearts for some time, and it truly is an honor to be here with you all with this event that happens year over year, and it really is an amazing event. So thank you guys for all the work that goes into putting it on. I know that Chris had some great relationships with Terry Vaughn, having been a Midwesterner himself. So Chris, maybe you want to share some of those stories.
Sure. No, I've got fond memories of Terry from way back in 2000, when I met Terry for the first time. I was a referee, a grade 7 referee at youth regionals, and Terry was the instructor from US Soccer and gave me some really good feedback at that event. And then lo and behold, 9 years later, Terry and I worked in MLS. I was his 4th for probably a good handful of games. My first 2 years in the league was strictly 4th officials, and Terry and I crossed paths many times. So, very fond memories of working with Terry, and Tori and I are, like she said, super excited to be part of this event. It means a lot to us, just as much as it means to all of you guys. So thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So today what we're going to talk about to kind of kick off, I know later today you guys are going to talk about some really technical aspects of the game and some beautiful presentations from some amazing presenters. But we're going to kick off this morning and talk a little bit about balancing life and soccer. And this is something that Chris and I have worked on. I don't know if we've perfected it quite yet, but we are a work in progress. And we thought it would be really great to kind of share our formula of success with you all. And everyone's life is different. We all have different struggles and challenges and components of our family. So by all means, what we're sharing with you guys is not perfection and is not the Bible, but it's a little bit of maybe a little peek into what it is that we do and how we kind of balance the things that we have on our plates. I hope that you take away at least a couple nuggets that you can share with yourself and maybe others. And so without further ado, let's get started. So if you don't know our story, let's go ahead and share. In true social fashion, we'll do it how it is, how it started, and a bit of how it's going. So yes, I did dig these up in the archives. And Chris, I don't know about that haircut, but
I mean, that was the style in the 90s. Come on now.
Is that what they told you?
Yeah, that's what they told you.
So if you can go back to the previous slide, Lena. So a little bit about our story. So both of us actually have a very similar story, just happening in two different parts of the country, which is quite interesting. But we both started at a young age. I started when I was 14 years old, just to get some money in my pocket. My mom said, go get a job. And I was already on the soccer field so much. So I really did that, got super excited about being able to get cash on the field. I actually bought my first car when I was 16 years old with a wad of cash that I had earned from refereeing. So after having that kind of bit of independence, I was super thrilled about officiating and kind of stuck with it. Didn't really realize that there was a career path until I went to my first ODP camp in Alabama. And was able to learn a little bit more about flag mechanics and all the things I was doing wrong. And then realized it was really a competitive environment. And I started to be drawn into the nature of challenging yourself to get better, and was really drawn to that. And then, fast forward, here we are both at Pro Camp last year, which was a super special moment to be able to attend Pro Camp with Chris. So Chris, you want to share a little bit of your story?
Yeah, same age. I started when I was 14. Slightly different reason. My club coach at the time was a referee, and he asked us if any of us wanted to go to a referee clinic, and I said, sure, why not? And back then it was 2 weekends. So I went and took a 2-weekend course with 3 of my teammates. I'm the only one still standing. One of them lasted about 10 years, was the longest, and then he gave out for family reasons, but I stuck with it. Worked all through high school, through college. I actually got into a disagreement with my high school coach my senior year, and said, I'm going to go focus on refereeing. So we had a bit of a falling out, but it's ironic now. He and I are really close. He follows all of my games. We joke that I'm in better physical condition in my 30s than I was in my teens, which is probably accurate. But for same reason, I went and worked tournaments and weekends, made cash, like Tori, paid cash for my first car. With all referee money, just from, going out and doing the glory days of 6 games one day at a tournament and 5 games the next day, and then coming home with a wad of cash. You do that weekend after weekend. And here we are. So it's been 24, 25 years of refereeing soccer, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
For sure. And for those that might not know, Lena, if you can go to the next slide, it certainly is a family affair for us. So we have 3 beautiful girls, Piper Kai, who's 6, Jovi Birch, who is 4, and Brinley Finn, who is 2. The 2 olders play soccer. That's Jovi on the left and Piper on the right, actually just last weekend at an event we were at. But they love the game. They've been around it. They've been to a lot of stadiums. And I'll share a story about Piper. I was driving her to her first practice at the local YMCA fields, and we just happened to pass the stadium. And she said, Mommy, I want to go play there. And I was like, well, Piper. And she's like, I want to play there so all the people can watch me. And I said, well, first you got to go to the fields and learn how to play the game. And then maybe one day you'll play in the stadium. So they are definitely a big part of what we do. They travel with us quite often, and they love this game almost just as much as we do at this point. But today we're going to answer the question of how do you do it all? Lena, if you can go to the next slide. Thank you. We all have the same amount of minutes in a day. And how is it that some people can get so much accomplished in a day and some others feel like we can't get anything done and we feel burnout at the end of the day? I'm going to give you a little bit of our recipe for success. And it's really about valuing every one of these minutes as best as you can. Next slide, please. So I start here with a picture of our family because that's really core and true to who we are and all that we do, and is really kind of our North Star and the reason for why we do a lot of what we do. And so when we talk about life balance, they are our number one. So if you go to the next slide, please. This is a little bit about what we'll chat about today. And I show the yin yang symbol. And if you know anything about the yin yang symbol, it's really a symbol of harmony and balance, and how the negative impacts the positive, and how it's really harmonic, essentially. I like to think that Chris and I balance each other off a little bit. But here are the things that we're going to talk about between being present, prioritizing and setting boundaries, goal setting, giving back to the game, transparency at work. I've worked full-time jobs. I know how difficult that is. I'll give you some tips to what's worked for us. Our saying yes mantra, kind of taking advantage of opportunities, fitness as a lifestyle as you climb the ladder, and undoubtedly it takes a village. And we'll end with just kind of knowing your why. which I'm sure you can guess what ours is. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first one is being present in the moment. Wherever you are, be present in that moment. It's easy to say, but it's actually very difficult to apply. And this is something Chris and I have challenged each other quite a bit. I've dedicated 45 minutes this morning to you guys, and I'm here with you all focused on this presentation for 45 minutes. And when we're home, we're focused on our home. We have some rules at our house. Chris, you want to share some of those at the dinner table?
Sure. Going along with be present, Tori and I have a steadfast, firm rule that our phones are off limits from 5 p.m., 5:30 until the girls go down at sometime around 8 p.m., 8:30. And that is time that is strictly with the kids. And we cherish our time with the girls, especially as much as we're away and as much as we travel. So like Tori says, we're home, we have to be present. So it's no phones. We eat dinner together. We're a bit old fashioned. We'll sit at the dining room table and eat dinner together as a family, no matter what we're having for dinner. We sit and we eat and we talk about how everybody's day was, how school went. We watch the news together at 6:30 as a family. And then it's off to, bath and bed and get ready for the next day. So those 3.5 hours we spend with the girls every evening. And if we have time, we'll go for a walk around the neighborhood. We live in a really cute little part of St. Petersburg. We get out and we walk, and the girls will ride their bikes or their scooters. So those 3.5 hours are really important to us. It kind of fills our cup, so to speak.
Yeah. And like Chris said, that time from like 5 to 8 o'clock, we don't have webinars during that time. We don't take phone calls during that time. If we're not away for a game and we're home, we spend that time dedicated with the girls. And that's, I think, really important because they get kind of all of us during those moments. Lena, if you can go to the next slide. The next thing is really prioritizing and setting boundaries. So it's about, being intentional about how you spend your time. If you can click to the first bullet for us. Thank you. So first is figuring out what matters most to you and prioritizing that. For us, it's family, work, soccer. It's been that way for some time. For you, it might be something different, but setting those priorities first and foremost so you know what matters most, so that when things get astray, you can kind of go back to what matters most at the end of the day. You can go ahead and click through for us, Lena. Thank you. The next piece is blocking your time for various activities. So we mentioned we spend that 5 to 8 p.m. whenever we're home dedicated to the girls. We also block time for work. We block time for fitness. On some of our heavy training days, that might be a 2-hour block for fitness. Sometimes that, when I was working full time, was at 5 a.m. Sometimes that's in the middle of the day, now that our schedules are a little bit different. We also block time for giving back to the game and volunteering, and we figured out kind of what works best for us in regards to that, but making sure that you have time dedicated to certain aspects, and there's a good balance of those. Lena, if you can click through. Thank you. Ensuring that it's a good, healthy balance of those activities and setting those boundaries. So we try and do 1 volunteer webinar a month. We try and do 3 to 4 events a year that we attend for mentoring. We try and get in 1 date night a month between Chris and I. We don't always do that one, but we, like I said, we're a work in progress and we're always trying to get better. And then we have, no phones at the dinner table that we already talked about. And when the kids come home from school, I'm not doing any work. I'm dedicated on helping them with homework and things. So we have a lot of boundaries that we've set in those regards. And that's helped us to really be present and be in the moment and give our best at every aspect of our jobs and roles that we have.
Yeah. Tori, before you go forward, just on the very first bullet at the top, where Tori says what matters most to you and you have to prioritize it in this order here is family, work, soccer. When we mentor, I stress the same thing. In my role as a coordinator of officials, I stress the same thing. Soccer can't come first. And you might ask, how have we done that and be as successful as we are without putting soccer first? But if you don't put family first, and sometimes work first, soccer will never be successful, no matter how hard you try at it. So if you don't have a good foundation, i.e. Good life at home, family's in a good spot, work's in a good spot, then you won't be successful in soccer no matter how hard you try. So it's really important to have a good foundation and put the right things first.
Absolutely. And then the last piece here is just assessing and reassessing your priorities over time and how you're actually spending your time. So we might say, hey, we're going to spend our time this way. But when you start to look at how is it that you're actually spending your time, and you might need to shift that. You might be, maybe you're putting too much in the soccer basket and you need to refuel your family life a little bit, right? So assess it, reassess it, We recognize that seasons change, and so do you, and your plan should change and evolve with you. So that's really important. If you could go to the next, great. The next piece is goal setting. And we talk a little bit about this, and this is near and dear to my heart because I feel like this has really propelled me in being more clear about what it was that I want to achieve. So if we could to the next slide, Lena, thank you. So each year we set goals and we sit down and do this as kind of an annual process, but it really helps provide clarity because you know where you're going, you know what your next step is, you know why you're achieving all these things, it's for this end goal in mind. So it really helps provide clarity into your intentions and how you spend your day. So go ahead, Lena, to the first, thank you. So we look at not just that year, but then the next 3 years. And what is it that you want to achieve this year, the next year, the following year? Where is it that you want to be in 3 years' time? And then aim a little high. Reach a little higher, stretch yourself a little bit. When I first did this, I was putting goals I didn't know if I could achieve. And I remember doing this at an event, actually, it was a DA showcase, and Feeney was actually there. And she asked us what our goal was. And I had put down I wanted to referee in the NWSL at the time. And I remember she saw that and she pulled me aside and she was like, "That's what you want to do?" I was like, "Yes." And she's like, let's help get you there. And so when you're intentional about your goals and you write them down and you share them with others, people are willing to help you achieve those and help you set up what do you need to do in order to get there. And so writing down your goals and being really intentional about them is actually a really important part of developing success. Go ahead, Lena. Thank you. And be ambitious. Set some scary goals that you might not think you can achieve, but you would love to do. Very aspirational. Just do it and then figure out if you wanted to referee in the MLS or if you wanted to referee in a World Cup, what would that look like to get you there? Maybe it might be a championship final or an NCAA final, whatever that is that you want to get to, and then figure out what you need to do, what kind of experience you need to get at what levels in order to get you there. And that kind of ends up being your North Star that you're aiming for. So when things get a little tough, and they will get tough because there are lots of peaks and valleys, success is not linear, that's for sure. That North Star will help you. When you have those grinding days that you don't want to get up and work out, you look at that North Star and you say, that's what I'm trying to achieve. And I got to get out there and get it done, you know? And like I said, write it down, map a plan to get there, and then vocalize your goals. Don't be afraid to share them. I remember being at Generation Adidas a couple years ago and seeing Alex Proust, and I told him, I said, I want to referee in the MLS. And he said, "Oh, do you?" And I said, yes, I want to referee in the MLS. Like, is that possible? I want to do it. And he's like, okay, Penso. But being vocal about it is good because it almost holds yourself accountable to those goals of what you want to achieve. And then those people will rally around that and help you. And they'll say, hey, you know, maybe you can get there. Here are the things you need to work on in order to get there. So we're a community. We want to help each other out, but you've got to do the work of setting your own goals and figuring out what that means to you. Anything to add, Chris, about goal setting?
No, I think the only part of that I would touch on is don't think that everything will go smoothly. Like Tori says, there will be peaks and valleys along the way. You know, Tori and I sit down and we do our goals for the upcoming year. And, you know, my goals had to get modified last year because 2 weeks into the season, we went into a pandemic. And then 2 weeks after that, I had my third partial tear in my right Achilles, and it was time to have surgery. So I had a full-blown Achilles repair. I had a bunch of bone removed. So my 2020 goals changed pretty quickly from, you know, wanting to get into MLS playoffs. And instead, my goals were rehab my right Achilles and get my fitness back. So just set your goals, but be adaptable when things happen, because things will happen.
Very true. That's a great example, Chris. So the other piece of it is really giving back. And giving back has been an essential part of our formula. We get every time we give, and it motivates us. The people that we meet, their stories, they inspire us to continue on our paths and to our goals. And I love this picture. This is a great picture. This is Chris holding baby Piper there in the front of the room. And this is actually in his high school, and he's having a little chat with the boys team there. And I think it's such a beautiful picture because it sends a message to these young boys that you can be a father and you can be a professional athlete and do both well. And I think it sends a really strong message to these young gentlemen. And I would encourage you guys that family and soccer can coincide, they can coexist. And here's a great example of that. And I would ask yourself also, how often do you give back? You don't have to be a professional or a FIFA referee to give back to the game. We give back quite often, and here are some great examples of some of the experiences that we've had the opportunity to give back to the game that we love so much. Being a mentor truly is a privilege for us to be able to mold young minds and help others be analytical about their own performances and encourage them through maybe some difficult times. And we like to keep in touch and watch everybody on their journeys as well. At the end of the day, we're a community and we have a responsibility to give back. And no matter what level you are, no matter how old you are or how young you are, you can give back to this game at your local fields, at tournaments. You're, taking the time out of your day to learn from some great minds today. Take that knowledge and bring it back to your local town and share it with your other referees. That's giving back. It's as simple as that, or it can be mentoring at a tournament. There's so many varieties and ways that you can give back to this game, but I highly encourage that this is part of your formula as well. Chris, I know this is near and dear to your heart.
Tori knows how near and dear to my heart this is. Just like she has challenged you, I challenge all of you as well to give back, to help grassroots referees be better. Just like we're challenging you, I challenge our referees at pro. I challenge my coworkers to give back more often than we already do because of how much it means to me. And it means a lot to me for a lot of reasons. Just because I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for mentors along the way, like Terry. I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for all the help. So, Tori gives me grief every summer because June and July get really hectic around here between our game schedule and then all of the mentoring and instruction we do. Tori and I have gone to Region 3 Youth Regionals for the last, I don't know how many years, to either mentor or instruct as assigned by U.S. Soccer. I do an ODP camp every July in Alabama, which Tori, the last couple of years, has said, "Do you have to do this?" And yeah, I do. I go to ODP camp. I've got 50 really green referees, and by the time we're done 5 days later, for me to be able to see the difference in their ability just from some mentoring on ODP games. And I've mentored and instructed referees at ODP that I now work with in MLS. Nima and Rubio both came through ODP and youth regionals. Walt Heatherly from Tennessee. I remember him from his first ever ODP camp when he was still a grade 8. And now he's a trialist AR in MLS. So it's really come full circle for me. It means a lot to us. Tori and I just mentored at the Weston Cup last weekend down in South Florida. So it means a lot to us. Like she says, we do it at least 3 or 4 times a year. We would do it more if we could. We took the girls with us last weekend, and we do that at regionals. The last couple of years, I've taken our oldest, Piper. I've taken her to ODP with me. So we find ways to make it work just because of how much it means to us. So I challenge all of you to mentor and give back when you can and help our grassroots referees.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. The next piece is transparency at work. And this is my perspective. I know others maybe not share the same perspective, but I thought it was important, as some of you guys are young in your careers and trying to figure out, how do you balance career and soccer? And my philosophy has always been honesty and transparency. It sometimes makes you very vulnerable. It puts you in very vulnerable situations. But I think at the end of the day, being honest and transparent is super important anyway. Lena, if you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So at the end of the day, now that you know what you want to achieve, you've set your goals, you've set your priorities and your boundaries, I think it's important to share those ambitions with your boss. I think it's important to have employers who are aligned with your personal and professional goals. And this might seem kind of wild to some of you, but I think it's really important. This is part of your support system, is your people at work as well. And find a job or find a career that they value you more than just profits, because you are more than just profits. And when you are happy at work and achieving great things, you will also achieve greatness at your job as well. And that's really important.
I'm working on it.
So I was also lucky to have roles at jobs like Red Bull and Coca-Cola and some agencies that really valued what I did off the field as well as on the field. And they shared those passions with me. And that allowed me to be able to collectively work with them and figure out boundaries and set expectations of what this relationship was going to look like. And that might mean in the interview process, once you get further down and you're in those final stages of negotiating, that maybe you negotiate a little less salary for more flexibility at work. Or maybe you opt out of a medical plan because you're covered by your spouse in exchange for more paid time off. These types of negotiating can happen. And if your goals are to do something amazing, let's say you want to work in a World Cup or be a professional referee, you're going to need to have some time off on Fridays or maybe a Wednesday to go do these games or take advantage of opportunities. So to be able to negotiate that in advance with your employer is really important because it sets you up for success. It sets you up to be able to have a strong support system that includes your work life as well, because that is a big part of who you are. If you're trying to sneak out and not tell the boss on a Friday, that is weight you will carry with you into your games. And that will mess with you mentally and it will catch up with you eventually. So my philosophy has always been to be really transparent and open with my boss and employer and really find an employer and find a job that worked out well to allow me to do my soccer passions as well. So I think that's really important. I know Chris has a little bit different experience having working full time. He made some decisions and chose to leave the police force in order to referee. Chris, you want to share a little bit about that story?
Yeah, my real world work experience is pretty limited. Growing up, I worked for my dad at a pizza shop, and that afforded me the ability to be able to referee whenever I wanted because Dad just said, if you want to go referee, go referee. So I did. And then coming out of college, I joined the Ohio State Patrol as a trooper for about just shy of 2 years. And in the course of those 2 years, I refereed 3 games. And this was back in 2006, 2007. It was right before I got my national badge in 2008. And the reason I got my national badge in 2008 was because I left the patrol in 2007 because I only refereed 3 games in a little over 19 months. So I walked into my lieutenant's office one night after shift and said, hey, I don't think this is going to work. I'm not refereeing on. We had a policy in place at the time that wouldn't allow me to take time off just because of how low I was on seniority. And those things have changed since, but back then they were what they were. And I told him, I was going to walk away and he was a bit shocked, but he understood. And he said, well, you're welcome back anytime. And he and I still stay in touch, believe it or not. He's been promoted a couple of times, but I walked out that night and I think my parents were a little confused as to why I left the patrol less than two years after I joined, but it works out now. And I joke with people that I really don't have to worry about getting shot or killed at work, with a few minor exceptions in some stadiums. And I don't have to worry about coming home to see my family at the end of a shift. So, and I make probably more money now than I would as a trooper for far less stress. And everybody knows it's probably not the easiest time to be in law enforcement. So I made the decision and I left, and it's paid pretty good dividends. I met Tori, obviously, because I choose the referee route, and now we have a fantastic family, and we are living a dream. We're both blessed to be able to call soccer our jobs, call refereeing our jobs, and it's afforded us a long list of opportunities and created a long list of friends and very close, good friends that we have because of soccer. So I can't attest to the work balance like Tori can, because she's had all these full-time jobs. But I can tell you that when work comes into the equation, there are typically some very difficult decisions, and you have to work really hard to find that balance.
Thanks, Chris. And like I said, it's a partnership, right? And whatever you end up deciding to do, it's a true partnership with you and your employer and your family to try and figure out what's that right balance. But work is an important part of all of our balance, and to make sure that you have a good relationship with your boss, to have that transparent, open conversation is really important for success. So the next one, Lena, if you could show the say yes mantra. So we have this bit of a mantra at our house, and it's say yes and we'll figure it out later. Opportunities don't often come knocking, and we try and say yes as often as possible. And I'm truly blessed to have Chris, who's instilled and empowered me to do that even after having children. I was ready to kind of pump the brakes a little bit. And he was like, no, you can still do all those things before and we will figure it out. And that has worked well for us so far. Lena, if you can go to the next slide. And I really love this quote, because it's one thing to have opportunities knock on your door, but you've got to be ready for them when they come. And preparation is key to success. You've got to have the preparation meet the opportunity in the right moment to really succeed. And we've been lucky to have that happen for us a few times in our career. But waiting for an opportunity to knock and going and finding an opportunity by being prepared and ready for when that opportunity does present itself is really important. Chris, do you have anything to add about our Say Yes mantra?
Of course I do. We just say yes. And one of the reasons we're able to do that is Tori and I have created an extensive list of nannies and babysitters. And then Tori's mom lives about 3.5 hours away. She's actually with the girls right now so that I'm able to do this because Tori's not home. And that's how we're able to do this. So we have 2 nannies that we use on a regular basis. One of them's a referee. And then our third one on the list, she is a soccer coach and used to referee. So it's a big deal to her when she comes to the house and she sees all of our soccer stuff and she gets really excited. She kind of lives vicariously through us. But we have a really good support system. So what I tell Tori, and I typically apply the same mantra, is just say yes and we'll figure it out. And because she'll get an invite to something or a game assignment and she'll look at the calendar and it'll look like she can't do it. And I'll say, just say yes and we'll figure it out. And we always figure it out, either through our network of nannies or just leaning on Tori's mom every once in a while, or even, I think it was last year, the year before, my sister flew down from Ohio and spent some time down here. Her and her boyfriend came down and spent some time with the girls because Tori and I were both going somewhere. I forget what was going on, but we both had events simultaneously that required a pretty good deal of childcare for the girls. So we just say yes and we figure it out, and it's always worked that way. But yet we still find the balance, right? And sometimes we say no. Sometimes we just have to say no because it's too much time away from home or it's too much time away from the girls. And we know we need to have some time here to kind of recharge and refresh. And as much as I probably shouldn't say it, those of you who have children will probably understand and appreciate this. Sometimes we say yes just to get out of the house. And we go away on a trip and we come back and we're a little recharged because the kids have, thinned out our patience a bit. So we go away on a trip for a couple of days and we come back and it's really nice. And the girls probably don't appreciate it yet, but they will when they're older. Because, you spend so much time, you get away for a couple of days, you come back and it kind of gives you a chance to reset, even though we call soccer work, and it is, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. But at the same time, the silver lining is when you get away for a few days, it does give you a chance to reset from home life, and you come back. And I think it makes us appreciate the girls a little bit more.
Yeah, the way I like to say that's a little softer is I feel like I'm a better mom when I spend some time away because my patience is built back, And at the end of the day, the girls enjoy when we leave and they can watch us on TV and see mommy on TV, and they're excited when we come home. And so far it's worked out well. I'm sure that'll change and evolve as they get older and what that experience might look like. But I think we're better parents at the end of the day for the amount of time we're able to spend away and have a little recharge ourselves and refocus on our self-care and maybe read a book that I can't do when I'm at home and recharge. And that's really important as well as parents, and recognizing that time away is not guilty time away from the kids, but it's time for me to recharge mentally. And so again, being intentional and thoughtful about the time and the minutes and the way we spend them, I think is really important. Great. If we can go to the next slide. So talking about being prepared is a great segue into training and fitness. This is a great quote from Anton Dorrance. And those who may not know, he is the UNC women's head coach, some 21 national championships. So I think he knows what he's talking about when he comes to fitness. But I love this quote because it's so true. You can never be fit enough for this game. And no matter how much we train, we'll never be fit enough for this game. And the game keeps getting faster. And so fitness is a core to success. at this level, at the next level, and wherever you want to go. It is important that fitness is embedded in all that we do. So to give you a little bit of an insight into what training looks like for us, Lena, if you can go to the next slide. Thank you. Training truly is a lifestyle, and that's kind of how we see it. It's not a seasonal choice. When it's the college season or it's the pro season, we turn it on. There is a constant of training at our house, always. We don't always train together. Last year, I didn't have my training partner, and that was difficult because he was on the couch in a boot. But usually we have the opportunity to train together at least a few times a week, and that is good competition, healthy competition, I'll say, in the house.
And when I got off the couch, she wasn't ready for it.
No, he came off the couch and was sprinting like he wasn't on the couch for 6 months. Not quite sure how you did that, but made me faster, I'll say. But training is a lifestyle. So what training looks like for us, we have daily HRV measurements and wellness reports. We do some post-training. That is kind of all the reporting that we do in regards to training. And then usually our training regimen is about 5 days a week, pretty heavy training, pending our match day schedules. And that training includes everything from strength training to conditioning, sprints, intervals, high intensity training. And what's been relatively new in my repertoire has been recovery. And a big piece is I've gotten a little bit older every year. It seems the age just keeps getting older and the demand keeps getting higher. And so recovery has become a big part of my equation now. So making sure I'm swimming or biking, using rollers, pressure legs or massage guns, all of these equipment help us be prepared for that next opportunity, for that next game. And that's really important to figure out what you need to do in order to recover. And of course, nutrition is a huge part of that equation. Making sure that the food that you're eating is truly fueling your body and it's adjusted to your training demands. And that's really important. We see food as fuel. We're not sitting on the couch with a bag of potato chips and some Oreos, dunking them in milk, even though my heart might want that. We truly make sure that the food that we're eating is fueling our bodies for that next training or that next game or that next opportunity. So anything to add, Chris, in regards to training?
No, you hit most of it. Tori's right. It is a lifestyle. We train every day. We block out a section of our mornings when I'm not at physical therapy, because I'm finishing up physical therapy as part of my rehab for my surgery. But Tori blocks out a time on her calendar on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I'm not in PT that we go to work at the gym from 10 to 12, roughly, give or take 30 minutes. And then she hit on that last bullet point. Nutrition is really important. I do the majority of our cooking here at the house, and I don't mind. I love it. But we eat a ton of vegetables, a ton of fresh fish, a lot of chicken. I'm Italian, so we do still eat pasta. And Tori and I appreciate that every now and then. But nutrition is important, and she's right. You can't just sit on the couch and eat a bag of potato chips every night and expect to be fit when you go out and referee. But we have our vices like everybody else. I'm a donut guy. Tori likes her brownies. But it just makes you work that much harder in training so that you can enjoy those things every now and then.
Indeed. And modification, unlike Chris, who comes home with a box of 18 donuts. And then
for the kids.
Yeah.
For the kids.
For the kids. Right. Fantastic. And so moving beyond training, Chris had mentioned this earlier, it certainly takes a village to do what we do. I'm blessed to have a partner that supports me in my passions and my dreams and challenges me just in the right ways. But your support system is really critical to success and making sure that they believe in your goals, in your aspirations. My mom there at the bottom right, that's her attending a game. She flew up to North Carolina to watch my NWSL semifinal. And she is there for us in a beck and call if we need her. And she'll also come and celebrate those victories with us. And when I have a bad game or something doesn't go right, I pick up the phone and she's there as my support system too, as a sounding board as well. And so it's important to find that support system for you. And it doesn't have to be parents. Maybe it's a grandmother, maybe it's a mentor, but finding that support system that's there for you in the highs and the lows throughout this journey is really important. Family is obviously central to what we do. And Chris had mentioned, we try and bring the girls as often as we can, whenever it may allow. And here are some examples of us taking the girls on various trips. There's a college game in the top right with Piper, who watched the game in the stands and then came on down to say hi. That's Chris down at the bottom. He's instructing, and he's got, I think that's baby Jovi in his hands, also instructing like that. You can see at the top left, the three girls with some cones. I was doing a mentoring with a Florida Women's Academy, and those were a bunch of ladies there behind, and the girls came and they were our cone girls, and they ran around the field and placed the cones wherever we told them to. But they get so much joy out of being part of our experience as well. And we've been lucky to be able to bring them when times permit to be a part of it. And so that's really important, making sure you guys celebrate those victories and make sure you have a really strong support system, again, that's really understands what you're trying to achieve and is bought into that goals and aspirations. Chris, anything to add?
Yeah, just Tori's right. It does. It takes a village. The picture of me at the bottom left holding baby Jovi, that's at youth regionals. And I know we hit on this earlier in the presentation, but one of the things that is on our calendar every single summer is Region 3 youth regionals. And not to knock Region 2, because I'm a Region 2 guy. I grew up in Region 2. But Region 3, Roger Morton is the referee director, and Roger embraces our family every year. Takes care of us as far as logistics, everything we need to be able to bring the girls. And throughout the entire week-long tournament, because for some reason Region 3 wants to play quarterfinals and semifinals and finals, and it's a never-ending event. But we take the girls for the entire week, and we stress the entire week that family is an important part of being successful in the referee world. And we can't thank Roger enough for everything that he's done for us to embrace that. But Tori's right. It takes a village, and if you don't have the support system in place to help you, then you won't be successful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one thing also to call out, we've been lucky to be a part of NYSOA as an organization, and one of our core values is family first, and it's a unique soccer organization that values family first. And we recognize that people have careers and you have family. And it's really a beautiful organization that focuses on and understands this career path that we have that can be kind of wild at times, and supports us in that vision. So to be a part of the NYSOA family is also really important to us, because they value what we value too, which is family first. And I hope that you all, if no other message was delivered today, that is, and your family has to be number one through and through the highs and the lows of this crazy world we're in. So moving on to the next one, last but certainly not least, when the road gets tough, no matter where your aspirations are, there'll be good days and there'll be bad days. You've got to know your why. And for us, our why are these girls, and making the world a better place for them. I hope that the struggles that I've had to endure will make a path for them to be successful. And they are my why. They are the reason why I do what I do, and I get up and I hit the road running, and I push myself to beat Chris in those last few sprints. No, he doesn't ever let me win. I have to work to win those sprints, but those girls are our why. So what is your why? What drives you? What motivates you in those days when we don't want to get out of bed? Because we have those too. Everyone does. And you've got to have something, that North Star, that really shines bright for you, that makes you want to get moving. Chris, anything to add there? You're on mute.
I'm muted. Sorry, I didn't want you guys to hear all the typing I was doing. No, I mean, this picture says it all for us, right? It's really easy especially for me to stay motivated just by looking at this picture. And we carried Tori, when Tori went to NWSL bubble last year in Salt Lake. She took a picture of the girls with her for her accommodations for her room. And, it doesn't really need any more explaining. We look at a picture of these three beautiful little ladies, and it's really easy for us to go to our workouts, to put in the work, to put in the effort, and be successful.
Absolutely. And then the last piece we'll leave you with is, don't be limited by other people's limited imagination of you. I've been told before, you can't have a family and be a professional referee. And I'm happy to say that I've made that happen. And to show all of you that whatever your dreams are, go get them. No matter what the naysayers are, including yourself, what you may doubt of yourself. It always seems impossible until it's done. And so reach for the stars, follow the moon, aim big, challenge yourself, day in and day out, and make the best use of those 1,400 minutes you have in a day. So without further ado, do you guys have any questions for us? And I stopped right on time.
Do you want to give everybody the backstory about that picture?
What? Do you want to?
I mean, it was your game.
So for those that might not know, that picture is from the Women's College Cup, the last time we had one, which was in 2019. That's in San Jose. That was the first time we had an all-female crew on a D1 women's final. Sam was the fourth official, but the other two ladies, Delana Kwan and Selma Perez and myself, were on the field for the first ever Women's College Cup final crew, which was a very exciting moment. So another milestone made, another broken barrier, as some would say. But yeah, that's the story behind that picture. Great. What questions do you guys have? I see there's some that came through the chat. Brian Cohen said, can you tell the young referees how important college games are to your development? So I know college is near and dear to both Chris and I's heart. It was part of my development. Coming up through the ranks, I had some challenges on the USSF side and maybe wasn't getting opportunities. And I was able to pick up the whistle in the college game and continue to learn and challenge myself and get experiences that then made me better prepared for the moment I got opportunities on the USSF side. So we're lucky here in the United States to have college as an avenue for development. And it certainly is that, especially on the women's side. The next best soccer to NWSL at the professional level is our college game, is our D1 highly competitive women's games. A lot of the players that you're going to see on the international scene started in college. And so that is definitely an avenue for development. And I certainly used it to be able to continue to challenge myself. Most of those games are recorded, so you don't need an assessor. You can go home and watch it and be self-critical and learn yourself. And so that's a lot of how I kind of came up through the ranks and got my experience was through the college game. So it is certainly near and dear to my kind of stepladder of success. And I know, Chris, you feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. I started doing college when I was 18, and for all of my fellow Midwesterners, I think we appreciate how difficult, especially Division II and Division III and NAIA games can be, with all of the different ethnicities and personalities and players that we have in those divisions and those leagues. So college, and I refereed actively for 20 years in college, and many college cups and Final Fours and NCAA tournament games and a various long list of conferences and divisions that I worked in. And those games helped me tremendously become a better referee. And they're challenging games, not just the Division I games. Like I said, I think Division II tends to be harder than any other division in college soccer. And NAIA is probably right behind it. Division I is it's not to say Division I isn't difficult, because it certainly is, but the games are important. And I still to this day pledge to people how challenging they are, how good they are for your development. Tori and I, Tori has talked to Alex before about how good college games are for development of officials. So, and I remember the years before pro came along and before I got hired, and then contractually I wasn't able to referee college anymore, but there were years where I would do, and I don't know how I did it, but there were years where I would do 50 plus college games and go through that grind. But all those games, all that experience makes you better down the road.
For sure. We have a few more questions that have come through. What is your next referee goal for Tori and Chris, from Brandon? I can share mine. So obviously, having worked in the MLS and had some opportunities there last year that were very exciting, my hope is that is just the beginning. I would like to be part of the senior group of officials for MLS, working every weekend. So being Chris's counterpart, if you will. So that is where I hope to be in the next year or two. Likewise, my kind of reach goal, like I shared with all of you guys, to have aspirations that are maybe bigger than possible. I would love to referee in the World Cup. And I know that list is already out and I'm not on it, but my hope is that I can, with really good performances this year, I can hopefully get there and get on that list. So that's my big aspirational goal of what I want to do. But hopefully you guys will see me on the pitch more in MLS here in the near future. Chris?
My goal, short term, is MLS Cup. It's something I haven't done as referee. I've been on MLS Cup as VAR and as fourth official. So in my role as a contract referee, there's one position left that I haven't done, and it's referee. So that's my goal as we move forward down the road. Now as a FIFA VMO, those goals, I want to get out and get as many opportunities as I can wearing that badge, and hopefully get to some FIFA tournaments down the line. But those are my goals. Tori, we have a question from Sam Carey. I'm going to let you handle this one, but what is some advice you have for young, especially female referees that are starting to break into higher levels, such as college and other leagues? And Sam, just so you know, you might not know, is a Division I player at Iowa.
Come on, Sam. I think players make the best referees because you understand the game so well. But my best advice is what people told me coming up, and it was very frustrating hearing this, but it's so true, is get experience. Take that whistle, wet that whistle, do as many games as you possibly can, say yes to as much as you possibly can, because the more games you get, the more cobwebs you'll shake out of your closet, the more you'll figure out how to adjust and adapt. So just say yes and do as many games as you can, and take every game seriously. Come with a game plan, come with something you're working on, be intentional about refereeing a game. Don't just go out and referee a game. Every game I come, I was going to show you my notebook. I don't have it. Every game I do, I have a notebook and I write down my 3 or 4 game plans for that game, and things that I'm working on. My next game, I'm working on my body language, for example. There's a couple things I want to tweak in regards to my body language. So that's one thing that I'm personally working on. So take every game and a couple things that you're working on, and that way you'll be intentional about how you spend your time in those games. But if you are self-critical about your own game in a positive way to get better, that is, in my mind, the recipe for success there. You can't wait for an assessor to tell you what you're doing right or wrong. You've got to take the initiative to want to get better and really be a student of the game, learn all the rules and the laws and how they apply, and watch clips and do as much studying as you possibly can, because that'll make you better in those moments when things happen. But excited to see you on the pitch, Sam. Chris, there was another question that came up from Dan, or actually it looks like it's from Anna. Hey, Anna, how are you? Thanks for listening. How do you balance enjoying the moment while also working hard for bigger goals? So I'll share mine, and then Chris, if you want to jump in. So this is something I learned actually in my job at Red Bull. We were putting on a lot of events, and we spend so much time on those events. We forget to take a moment to appreciate what we've just done. And so I've tried to do that. And in refereeing, I remember walking out for my first MLS match in Nashville. And right before I grabbed the ball, my counterpart, Logan Brown, looked at me. He said, just enjoy the moment. For just a minute, enjoy the moment. I was like, oh, I will. Don't worry. And as soon as I grabbed the ball, I looked up at the stands where no one was, because it was COVID time, and took a deep breath and just realized what a cool moment that was. And it was just a moment. And then I refocused and got right back to game face and game mode. I don't get caught up in the moment, right? Because that's easy to do. But I just took a brief moment to kind of take a deep breath and realize what we've accomplished. And this was such a big goal for me, to be there on that pitch in that capacity. And it was such a moment. I wanted to make sure I appreciated it, but then right back down to business, right? And then it's on to the next goal once we achieve that one, and last year, I exceeded a lot of my goals for 2020. So when I sat down to reset for 2021, I even aimed higher than I thought possible, because I had accomplished so much in 2021. And there'll be years like that. And there'll be years where you accomplish half as much as you had hoped for. And I've had those as well. And whatever it is, you reset, you refocus, and you kind of set that next kind of stepping ladder for whatever it is. Chris, anything to add?
That's good. I think enjoying the moments are what make you work harder, because when you're in the moment, you don't want it to end, and you just have to tell yourself, as long as you work hard, those moments won't end. Eventually, at some point they will, right? I can't referee. I can't chase 20-year-old players around forever. But, and I tell Tori this all the time. I say, enjoy it. Enjoy it. And for me, one of the things I love to do is when we walk out on a field in an MLS game and we get lined up, I like to look around. Just look around and just take it all in and listen. And then I do the same thing at the end of the game when we're all done, no matter how the game went, whether it went well, whether I can't wait to get out of there. Just take a deep breath, pause, and look around. And enjoying those moments what will fuel you to work harder to enjoy them more often.
That's great. Chris, here's one for you because I'm certainly not qualified to answer it. What's the best training methods for training in the cold or snow? From Vincent.
On a treadmill. And don't ever tell our sports scientist at Pro that I said that, because he is vehemently against treadmills. So growing up in Ohio, I won't lie, I spent most of my time training inside. But it is good for you to get outside when you can, even if it's in the 30s, 20s, etc. You train a different way. Your lungs have to work significantly harder. But at the same time, I think you still need to get inside and get some quality training and inside as well. So it's just about finding the balance of getting outside when you can, but staying inside when you're smart.
I love it. DeLon, and I think I'm saying that right, has a question for his 12-year-old son about how do you balance working matches with still playing when both are important? And I would say both are certainly important and they both fuel each other. So the more games you play, the better referee you'll be. And the more games you referee, actually the better player you'll be, because you'll better understand the laws and the rules and how to circumvent them perhaps, or use them to the best of your ability. So they both feed into each other. So as far as balancing that, you can't do a game as a player and a referee at the same time and do them both really well. So I would say it's, your game schedule's set as a player, and then you work your refereeing in and around that. And maybe it's going to a couple tournaments as a referee to get those games in, but letting your player schedule kind of guide as the number one, because you're a part of a bigger team there and a bigger entity, and they need you. So you can't say, hey, I'm not available for the game today, guys. Whereas referee, you can kind of work around it. Anything there, Chris?
No, I think that's good. There's a question, Tori, for you. What was the time frame in your progression through the ranks to get to where you are now?
Sure. So there are ebbs and flows to your career, right? You see, we have 3 beautiful daughters. So there were times when I took time off. And what I'm really proud of is after every pregnancy, I passed the women's fitness test and was back and ready to compete between each one, which was really exciting. So it's been some time. I started when I was 14. I didn't really take it serious until I was 18 or so, at which time I was headed to college and had plenty of other priorities I was focused on. And then my career I was really focused on, but was still able to go to, youth regionals and these types of events, which was great experience. And then my job actually had me travel across the country. So I, lived in California for a little bit. So I went out there and got to experience what it was like to be an official out there. And everywhere I moved, I always made sure officiating came with me, which I think was really important, because it would have been easy to move somewhere and just say, hey, it's too difficult to figure out. But I was able to do that. And it actually helped me in a lot of ways, because in the state of Florida, we have a lot of female referees, unlike in a lot of other places. So there was a lot of competition. And when I went out to California, there weren't as many. And I was kind of unique. And so it was a really cool experience where I got promoted and had some opportunities thanks to some folks out there. And I got to go to, amateur nationals, was selected to do that at that point. So my career has been a long, slow, and steady one, but I've picked up and learned as I've grown, and now I am where I am today. And I hope that this is just the beginning, and there's still more to come. But it's certainly been a long road, and it stuck with me. And what I learned from pregnancy and being off the field was how much I missed soccer and how much it was part of who I am and what I do. And so every time I had a pregnancy and was off the field, I missed it even more. And I think that helped drive me to want to continue. But great question. Thank you.
Tori, one last one. Question popped up. Have we ever, either you or I'll let you go first. Have you ever reached a goal, but not been able to commit to it because one of our other two priorities, i.e. work or family, has prohibited it?
Yeah, I mean, the first time I got invited to youth nationals, I had gone to youth regionals at a tournament, worked really hard, didn't expect to get appointed to youth nationals, and I did. I had just started a new job at Red Bull, and I was maybe a month or two into the job, and I had just requested 10 days off for that tournament. And so I went to my boss and was like, hey, I got invited to this really amazing once in a lifetime experience at youth nationals, and it's another 10 days in 2 weeks. Can we make it work? And she was like, no. She's like, look, I stuck my neck out and let you go to youth this first tournament for 10 days. I can't possibly go to my boss and allow you to do that in 2 more weeks for 10 more days. And I was heartbroken. I never went to youth nationals as a result, and I got selected, but I never actually went. And that was because work was a priority. And I had just landed a job of my dreams working at Red Bull in their field marketing team. And that was priority in that moment. I was 20 something years old and my career was just starting, and I couldn't possibly start this relationship with my boss rigid like this. And we had just worked out a deal so I could go to youth regional. So that was one that stuck with me for a long time. Her and I still joke about it because now I look at where I am today and I still give her some stuff about it. But that was an example for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know if it's ever happened to me. The one thing I think back to, and Tori will attest to this, back when I was on the FIFA panel, 2014, I think it was, I was sent to India for a month, and I was sent to India for a month on 3 days' notice. And Piper was 6 months old at the time, and Tori was a full-time grad student. So it was something I just couldn't say no to. And, Tori and I talked earlier in the presentation about, we just found a way. So with the support system that we had, I was able to go to India. I haven't eaten curry ever since. But I was able to go and experience and have that opportunity. And Tori held down the fort and still got her master's degree, and our kids are still alive. And she never killed me. And then, Tori has gone on some trips. You went to grad school trips, and you've been gone for a while, and you were at the bubble for a month. So while Tori's missed out on the opportunity at nationals, we have over the years developed a way to, I guess, be able to keep those things from happening. So.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris. And we try our best to make it happen. And that's kind of, those experiences got us to the yes mantra of just saying yes to figure it out, But I know we are out of time. I appreciate everyone's questions. I know there's a bunch still in the Q&A. We'll try and do our best to answer them. Somebody asked about looking for clips and a place to find good clips. I will do a plug for NYSOA. If you go to our NYSOA YouTube channel, we have a lot of really great clips there and analysis that you can review, and lots of good training. So if you're looking for a podcast to listen to or something on your drive, be sure to check out our YouTube channel, because there's lots of great content there if you haven't checked it out yet. But thank you again, Assad and team, for having us. This was such a pleasure and honor to be a part of. I know you guys are going to hear more from Chris later today, but thank you very much for the time. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Well, if we weren't awake, we're definitely awake now. Thank you both for an amazing talk. I know I'm a young professional myself, and that kind of advice is definitely going to go to good use, and hopefully some others took some notes as well. So as we move through, we're going to have quite a few giveaways throughout the day. Got a couple Duck TIG notebooks here, pocket size, 3-pack. They've got grids on one side, soccer field on the other side, amazing notebooks for writing notes, mentoring, etc. Going to do kind of an early riser gift. Looking through the chat, we have Andy, I apologize if I get your name wrong, Andy Godfrey, woke up at 5 in the morning from Hawaii to log in and hear you guys speak this morning. So Andy, we'll get your information, and one of those is heading your way. And then a night owl gift. We have Muhammad Faisal, 7,300 miles away at 8 p.m. logging in from Pakistan to see Tori and Chris speak and hopefully stay for the rest of the day. So we will get your information and get those heading your way. Thanks again, guys, for the first session and joining. We're going to head to break now. We will be back for the second talk at the scheduled time. So we will be back here in just a short while. Thank you.